Today on Dead Dodge Garage, it's a closer, more detailed look at the original owner and change. 1971 Dodge Demon 340 4-speed. Hey, this is a long video. If you don't have the attention span for it, I understand. You might want to pause it, go grab yourself a snack, another coffee, or, well, if it's late enough, maybe a cold snack. If you're holding the parts counter down right now, maybe just run over to La Tienda Latina and grab yourself a Coke. I did a video the day I bought the car, which was a week ago today, kind of walking you around it. During that entire video, it stayed running till I got to the battery store because the Optima that was in there was dead as doornails. You also saw me in the video delete the very expensive looking battery hold down that was in here. Really wasn't my style. I don't think it matched the engine compartment, and sure, there's other stuff that doesn't belong, but anyway, the other concern shared between myself and Chris, who helped me install this, was the proximity to the positive here on the side. I'm just not a fan. Anyway, I'm happy with it. Eagle-eyed viewers may notice that while I've attempted to clean some of the dust off of it, I've got a bit to learn about things that are shiny. Since I've already got the hood open, I suppose we can start here in the engine compartment. This is the original 340 bottom end. It's wearing Edelbrock aluminum heads, a polished air gap manifold, and some other nice bolt-ons. But the block and the crank are original. The engine was blown up on a drag strip sometime in the 80s, and a 318 was put in here for short-term use. Dale still has this 318. And it's wearing the original 340J heads, the original camshaft, and the original timing cover, I believe. Basically, everything that's missing from this engine is in that one. The original 340 was rebuilt in like 2006 or 7? I don't remember. By Johnson Machine in Tumwater, my favorite machine shop. And I think they did a pretty good job. Under the valve covers, there are adjustable roller rockers. You may have heard in the startup video, there's actually a slight tick on this side. I believe it's on number 4 or 6. I do need to pull this cover and see if it's just an adjustment issue, or if it's something way worse than that. But I'm going to hold out hope it's the former. It does go away as soon as it gets hot. It could also be a defective lifter. More on that later. There is a convenient firing order sticker right here. Now, I don't know about you, but I can remember 18436572. I don't know if this was for Dale himself, just for a reference, or maybe for people helping him at the track. Not sure, but there it is. I'd kind of like to remove it, but yeah, it's probably a bad idea. And it's been here so long, probably needs to stay. One little thing I noticed right away. What would have been the washer fluid tank is in the wrong spot. It should be over there where the MSD is. However, this one has been repurposed as an overflow tank, which of course you need to run on a drag strip. I showed these in the first video as well. They're spark plug holders drilled into the factory grill support. I find this kind of funny. I did the same thing on my 73 Dart Swinger drag project, although I put them over there. Convenient when at the track, pulling the plugs to read them or changing them out. That little guy? I wouldn't worry about that little guy. It is equipped with a Champion aluminum radiator, factory fan shroud, and this goofy hose cover, which, well, again, isn't really my style. Here's the MSD 6AL-2. Very fancy, with 2-step. The 2-step is hooked up to the line lock button, which is on the shifter. It's set at about 3,500 RPM. And sometimes when you're cruising down the road and you bump it on accident, you think the car's trying to die, but it's really just operator error. And there's the line lock, living right next to the ignition. I haven't actually tested this out yet, but I'm sure it works. Moving on further down the line, I showed this in the first video as well. This was a splitter for trailer lights, because this car used to be flat-towed to racetracks. No longer in use, but still along for the ride, is the original 2-post ballast resistor. Rounding out the MSD ignition setup is this stuff. Blaster SS coil and MSD distributor. Nice pieces. They work really well. I must say I'd prefer the look of something factory here, but you know, there's so many other deviations from stock. What's the difference? If you don't know factory Mopars, These ribs on this heater hose are a clue. That's factory equipment. If you're trying to restore a 340 Demon, this is how the heater hose bracket goes. This Pentastar here tells a story too. This is an original bypass hose. Very cool. The hood pins are not factory pieces. They are in the factory location. There are always little tits in here to be drilled out to install them. Dale says these plates and gaskets are factory pieces. This car was not originally equipped with pins, but he managed to source these. Here's another look at those toe points. You can see there they are bolted to the frame rail. I'm going to remove them. For one thing, they look funny, and for another, I'm never going to use them. Also, turns out going through certain driveways, they kind of kiss the ground. Right behind that, you can see a factory sway bar. I'm actually surprised to see this here. It's pretty common to take sway bars off of drag cars for better weight transfer. Inside the Kragers, factory drum brakes. Ideal for drag racing. Not ideal for driving down a mountain, but that's what the manual transmission's for. A couple neat things right here before I move on. This is the original antifreeze sticker. You can see it's seen some times. I may consider replacing it, but this one's original. Down here, you can see the factory blackout job behind the grill. Interesting note. They did this with like a rattle can, or maybe a gun with cheapo flat black paint in it. And you can see they did a tremendous job. It doesn't match from side to side, it's not consistent. They did no prep work. It's just blacked out. This is done so you do not see body color through the grill. You see black. And obviously, again, it's not perfect. Few things bother me more than seeing a beautiful, restored, freshly painted Mopar and seeing paint color through that grill. Needs to be blacked out, guys. And make sure you do a crappy job or you're doing it wrong. This should not be black. I don't know if that was done after installation of the tow setup or if that was something else, but it should be body color. The underside of the hood is also black. Now, I've meant to ask Dale about this. It should be blue as well. There's some additional paintwork down here that is incorrect. For example, this lower control arm should have actually been dipped from the factory and not painted, but, you know, it looks nice. After they did the subframe connectors, they also painted the underside of the car black for protection, which I'm fine with. You know what you won't find under here? Undercoating. Because drag car, he did not opt for that, obviously. Here's something you'll find on a 71 or later car. A return line to the tank from a vapor canister, which is not here. Also note, single horn, but a wire for the optional dual. Here's something I don't often see on old rotting A-bodies. A dome light that works with the doors. Here's a look at the special Demon nameplates on the inside of the doors. That's a cool piece. Here's an original armrest. It's real common to see elbow holes in these things. This one's got a little warp to it, but not bad. It probably looks as good as it does because this is an extremely low mileage car. 85,505 as of now. Being the rally type dash, it actually has a trip meter, which most did not, and a reset knob for it right here. Here's a look at the original brake pedal pad. This actually looks like a good bit of wear for 85,000 miles. I'm thinking that's probably because it was drag raced, and he was probably slipping his foot off of there quite a bit. You saw the original washer tank in the engine compartment, which of course has been repurposed for an overflow tank. This here is the factory foot bellows for pumping washer fluid. There was no electric motor, just this. As mentioned in the other video, the carpet has been redone. In fact, you can see here, it doesn't quite fit the contour of the floor where it meets the hump correctly. And this is common on 4-speeds. I've done a couple of these and yeah, they don't really fit very well in that area. It's a little annoying, but it's not the end of the world. Here's a look at the line lock button and the 2-step control as well. Same button. And the shift knob that's in the car. It's currently a Hurst pistol grip type T-handle. Originally, I believe this would have been the white cue ball. Hopefully that's in his collection somewhere. Well, I don't dislike this. I think I'd like the cue ball more. There's a look at the original heater vent hoses. You can see they are disintegrating somewhat. That's normal. I love stuff like this. Here's some wear through the paint on the lower section of the door where, he slid his foot in for 50 years. That's cool. There's actually a little splotch of black paint here, which tells me there's been some light touch-up work done there. Now here's something interesting. There's actually a large spot in the engine compartment at the cowl that matches this. You can see this weird, like, I don't know, I want to call it marbling in the paint. It looks like it's been touched up, but Dale insists there's been no paint work done here, and whatever you see is factory. Here, it shows the same thing here. That's interesting. Here's the area I was talking about. You can see a lot of discoloring here. I mean, it almost looks like someone's done some touch-up paint, but Dale says no, never have. There's also a little sticker here. It's not exactly to my taste. Now, I may remove it, but I may not. Here's something cool. Factory run. That is absolutely in the original paint. You know, they weren't exactly building grade A cars here. Notice over here on the passenger side door, a lot less wear, but there are a couple dents. There's probably a story to that. There's a story to just about every mark on this car. I haven't gotten all of them, but I've gotten a lot. This scratch, for example, that was made by a diamond ring after Dale and some of his friends were teasing a friend's fiance that her ring must be fake. Apparently not. Here's another look at the paint wear on the roof. Dale says this is from running the car through car washes. Something tells me he may have refrained from doing that if he knew what would happen. And while I'm thinking about that, here's a view down this top character line on the car. You can see light surface rust showing through. It's pretty similar all the way down. I don't know about you, but I think that flavor is cool. I do plan on coming over these with some kind of, I don't know, light clear coat. Something to preserve them, but make sure we don't end up with rust staining coming out of where the metal's bare. That would not be good. Of course, I don't think the car will see enough moisture for that to happen, but, well, we do live in Western Washington. If you've paid close attention to some of my other videos, you'll know I'm a bit of a Hot Wheels enthusiast. One thing I'm really into is having a tiny version of my cars. In fact, my 66 Charger has one right around on the dash all the time. It's really close. So imagine my surprise and delight when I found this thing tucked down in that quarter panel. I showed it to Dale. I said, "Does this come with?" He said, $100. Then he handed it to me. Then I found a perfect one in there and he kept it. Yeah. Hey, here's a look at what a flawless original dash pad looks like. Okay, maybe it's not absolutely flawless. There's a ding there, but it's really nice anyway. I just figured out what the ding is from. The seat flips forward energetically. Here's a look at the original back seat. The front seats have been redone to match. If you look very closely, you can tell the grain doesn't match perfectly, but it's pretty good. Oh, and that might be the first receipt I've ever intentionally saved for a car. I do intend on keeping records for this car. I'm sure Dale has, although I haven't gotten them yet. He did include the little demon character for his charge as well. You may have noticed this generic plastic center console screwed to the floor. My first inclination was to rip it out and throw it away as fast as I could, but, you know, I have intentions of driving this car. Maybe to power tour, I don't know. And, well, I might need this. So for now, it stays. These marks here on the factory package tray sure look like they had surface-mounted speaker boxes. Dale says these were actually for the tow lights he used. It sure looks like speaker wiring to me, but, you know, I'm not going to argue. I have no intentions of changing this car to any major degree, but there are some little things I'll be getting rid of. This is a small but kind of interesting detail. These lock surrounds are usually gone, and I've actually never seen these before. Here's a look at the one section of paint on the car that is not original. It was done many years ago, and for most angles, it's a very good match. This happened because a car passed over the center line on a drag strip and modified it, but it was fixed professionally. If you know Mopar, you know the teeth go up. Here's a look inside the repaired quarter panel. There is no obvious evidence that this was ever smashed in. There's no crease, There's no dent that's clearly full of filler. There's nothing here. There is a chunk out of the factory spray they put in here, but they never did the best job there anyway, so that may well be factory. You'll see this over here. That is definitely factory. While we're here, here's a nice look at the factory jack. It has a spring here that goes to this hook on the floor to keep it from vibrating around. It also has a little bit of padding in there. I don't know if that's factory or if that was added because it vibrated. I don't know. The factory jacking instructions decal looks about like the antifreeze one. And again, I may consider replacing it, but I don't know that I want to do that. This is a reproduction trunk mat. You can tell because it's totally the wrong material. It's fabric with a print on it that kind of looks like a factory rubber mat. I hope to find a better piece somewhere. This extra breather pipe, I believe, is specific to 1971. I could be wrong. It could be 70 and 71, but I know it's not found in later cars. Here's a look at the inside of the other quarter, and again, there's a missing chunk of this coating they put in here, so that tells me that chunk on the other side is probably original too. When we were looking in here for evidence of the repair, Dale pointed me to this spot in the wheel well and said that that had moved or creased. But I have seen pictures of other cars that have exactly the same marking, so I'm not so sure. There is a very, very slight rust spot in this corner of the trunk. I'm not going to worry about that anytime soon. Back looking at the right side quarter panel that was repaired, there is a notable rust spot here. It's pretty minor, and it's just in the lower 2 inches in this front corner. This, I think I will have to address. We'll come in, cut it, make a patch, and then have this paint matched. I don't feel bad doing that because this isn't original paint. It's close. And as close to the ground as this is, even if we end up with less than a perfect match, I don't think anyone will ever notice. I just don't want it to get worse, and well, it's not that it keeps me up at night, but as nice as this car is, it deserves to not have any holes in it. Truth be told, I didn't know this was there until, well, a month ago. Before I close the world's heaviest trunk lid, here's a look at the hardware on the underside of the wing. These openings for the wing on the underside of the trunk lid are factory, only found on 70 and 71 and maybe 2 Demons and Dusters. Because the springs haven't ever been adjusted since the wing was installed, it shuts kind of hard. There's a story to the spoiler too. Dale says when he ordered this car, he ordered it 340, 4-speed, 410 sure grip, striped elite, with a spoiler and dual hood scoops. When he took delivery of the car, it did have striped elite, but it had 323 sure grips, no spoiler, and no scoops. Do note that even with the side stripe deleted, it was still ordered with the tail stripe. Dale took delivery of the car anyway. Years later, he added the wing. He did order a set of hood scoops. They were supposed to be American made. And as he prepared to put them on the car, he realized they were not. So he got mad, and he sent them back. And the car never got hood scoops. This is a point of internal discussion for me. I have always wanted this front end with those scoops, whether on a Swinger or a Demon. I would love to get a set and bolt them on the car. It's what Dale wanted. He almost did it, but he didn't want Chinese crap on his car. Do I buy a set of scoops and install them? Or do I leave it how it is? It's tough. I don't think I can be the guy to drill holes in that hood, but I'm going to keep thinking about it. Actually, my solution may be to source an extra hood, paint it black, as was done often on these cars, and then install a set of scoops. And we'll put this one up in the rafters for future generations. It's kind of obvious what caused these dings going the wrong way on this quarter panel on the driver's side. Stuff rolling around in the trunk. Do note, on this side, the quarter panel is rock solid. No holes. In fact, other than those 2 spots, I have not found any holes anywhere. And that's actually interesting because for the last 20 plus years, this car has lived about a quarter of a mile from where I picked that Scamp up. The difference is, this car lived in a temperature-controlled garage. Going back to the repainted quarter, you can see here, the paint match is not perfect. And you can see markings where the paint was coming off to reveal the wrong color primer. It continues to about there, and then it blends in and you can't see it anymore. Dale says the touch-up paint actually blends into the roof. And I think that's what we're seeing right here, although it could just be lighting. I think it's more likely to be right here at the bottom of the roof. You can see a little bit of a difference in the sheen there. From certain angles, it disappears and you really can't tell. I'm not bothered by any of this. As part of the car's story, it belongs the way it is. It's really cool that the rest of the car is in original paint. I assume this is part of the Demon 340 package. It does have chrome brightwork around the windows, despite being a stripper model ordered with no stripe, a 4-speed, and some gears. This license plate is the original plate issued for the car in 1971. These exhaust tips are factory-style reproductions. In fact, the entire exhaust has been replaced. Of course, it's got headers anyway, so it's a good bit from stock. You can see here, removable cutouts. Not the electric kind, although I may well have to add those later. Dale says he does have the original exhaust system, but it's been rusting in his yard for quite a while and it's really not good for much. I haven't gone looking for it yet, but Dale also says there is a crack underneath the driver's seat. He says he drilled a hole at the end of it years ago and it hasn't gotten any bigger. I'm sure I'll find it eventually. I haven't picked up any of the documentation or memorabilia that comes with the car yet. Dale's still sorting through it and deciding what he needs to keep and what needs to come to me. I have seen a historic picture of the car in 1973, pulling the front wheels off the ground. And at that time, he had a bunch of performance stickers on the back bumper. These bumpers are actually reproduction pieces. There's kind of a funny story to that. He gave me the original bumpers 5 years ago. Then while I held on to them for some time, I sold them to a Canadian. This 1975 Fall Nationals contestant sticker has been on the car, well, probably since 1975, and it looks fantastic. I actually stumbled across a picture of this car in an old photo album, which we found in a garage we were, well, I guess renovating would be the term, but pretty much demolishing. And the way I knew it was this car was that sticker. I don't know where this parking permit sticker is from, but I could tell it's been there for quite a while. Might well be Boeing. Anyway, it stays. Note, this car has the original 70 Duster style trunk lid with no center ridge. It's just smooth all the way across. And you can clearly see right in this area why they added that center ridge. There just wasn't enough support there, and slamming the trunk caused dents. You can also see dimpling around the trunk lock area. That was another weak point. I don't remember if they ever reinforced that or not, but I have seen this on other cars. Here's a look at the very cool Demon-specific taillights. This is the passenger side light, which is in perfect condition. I find it interesting. The date here is actually 1970, but this taillight was not used until the 71 model year. Maybe they dated it 70 because that's when it was approved. I don't know. I'm sure you can see the bubbling and bulging on the seam between the quarter panel and the tail panel here. That should be lead filler. Seeing this is pretty common. It's actually really cool because, again, it tells us this has not been retouched. The left side taillight has a tiny flaw right here. I'm really not very concerned about that, but I know it's there. Here is a nice close-up view of the original and slightly faded emblem on the tail panel. That is a cool piece. Here's something else interesting. The tape stripes are not straight. The gap is larger here than on that end, but it's even larger in the middle here. Again, they really weren't building, 100-point grade A cars. They were building cars to be driven and used. And they weren't really aiming for perfection. The trunk latch has been adjusted somewhat. I don't know if it was to accommodate for the dents I pointed out or what. This gap is a little wide. And if you look there, you can see the lid sits just a touch high. So I may tweak that at some point. It doesn't look bad. It's just noticeable. Here's another look at the added-on performance gauge package on the column. It's a cool setup. It's great having accurate information and being able to keep tabs on the engine while you're abusing it. But I really do want to be able to see that original rally dash. I mean, it's one of the best parts of the car, so I will figure out how to make that happen at some point. Here's one little flaw in the interior. This A-pillar plastic on the driver's side is cracked. I suspect it may be because there used to be a tack mounted onto it. It's a little thing, but I may try to find a replacement at some point. Take a look at these original shoulder belts. I don't know that they've ever been used. The original tire pressure sticker is sure in better shape than the others. At least I think it's original. I have no reason to believe it isn't. Something else of note, despite being low mileage, the driver's side door doesn't really shut nicely. The passenger side, however, shuts perfectly. This, I believe, is due to a few different factors. For one thing, the driver's side door got used a whole lot more than the passenger side. For another thing, as Dale mentioned, the car is slightly tweaked. Hard launches are hard on things, and putting daylight under the front tires isn't exactly the best thing to do to a unibody car. It doesn't look that bad, but I know it's not perfect. There actually is measurable pin wear, so that's definitely a factor. I've rebuilt those in the past. I may tackle that on this car, but I may just leave it alone. So, that's a pretty good detailed look at the Demon, head to toe, front to back, top to bottom, underside to overside, whatever. There are a few very minor cosmetic things I want to change, and there are a few mechanical things I need to address. The transmission is actually the largest. When it gets hot, it no longer wants to shift into reverse. That's a problem. Also, it pops out of second gear. Only when engine braking. When you're banging through the gears, it's just fine. It never grinds. It seems okay, but I'm going to have to address that. The car came with a spare, so I'll probably be rebuilding that one and then installing it. For the most part, I'm just going to take care of this thing and enjoy it when the weather allows. If you have any questions or things you want to see on the car I didn't show, feel free to ask and I'll see what I can do. Thanks for watching. Well, don't think I'll get tired of this anytime soon.